caller.
I'm glad you did it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Wine, Women, and Crypto. I am your host, Najah Roberts, and we have a fabulous guest with us today. Before we go, I'll have to show this glass the ladies made me. It is so cute. It has a little bit of something in it. It's not wine, though. But I just wanted to show that glass. So, hello, and we have a fabulous guest with us today. Her name is Carolyn Reckhow, and she is incredible, and she has an incredible story. And so we are just going to do a couple of things before she comes on. And I, again, just want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. We are excited. We've got some great things coming up. If you all are aware of any wine sponsors, we're going to have some big events coming up in 2022, and we're looking forward to taking wine, women, and crypto across the United States as we start to educate women on all things cryptocurrency and blockchain education. So, with that being said, our guest is very, very esteemed. She has done a lot of things in the space, been in the space for a very long time, and she has a lot of accomplishments. And what we like to do is bring women on that have made a mark in the space, that are doing incredible things, so that you can see what women are doing in this space, because we have to give our women their flowers while nobody else is really doing it, because it's such a men-led space. And to all you men, we love you and we appreciate you, but this is time for women to rock. So without further ado, I am introducing to some and presenting to other Miss Carolyn. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much, Najah. It's great to be on. And yeah, what a wonderful intro. I love what you guys are doing. I agree. It is high time to celebrate women more in this space.
Yes. So we'll just kind of start out, because a lot of our women are housewives, or either they're in a business that has nothing to do with cryptocurrency and blockchain, and they're really just trying to figure out if there's some sort of vertical, or if there's some unrelated something that they can get involved in. So what I really like to do is kind of back up just a little bit and just kind of tell us how you were raised, what you went to school for, and those sorts of things. Where you grew up, what state, what country, give us a little bit about you.
Sure. Yeah. So, well, I live in New York right now, and I'm originally from the East Coast. I grew up in Western Massachusetts, and I went to school. So I majored in college in psychology, and in sociology, a few other things, and I ended up working in a totally different field, not in tech. My very first career moves were in the field of psychology and social work. I actually spent 3 years out of college doing various things, but essentially working as a social worker or like a therapist. I was doing mental health counseling with teenagers and families, family therapy, which is totally different than what I do now in the blockchain crypto space. And yeah, I mean, it's a long story of how I got there, but yeah, I always like to emphasize that what I started out doing in my career right out of school is like totally not what you would think in terms of a path.
Totally. So, but you know what? Social service and social work fits good into this space, because a lot of us are crazy, right? especially now after COVID, and then this, just all the things that we deal with psychologically, with the ups and downs of the markets, and just all the unknown factors. So I think that's a vertical right now. We actually were talking about how some of the Bitcoin maxis act, and you definitely need to be psychologically astute to deal with some of them because it's been a test of the time. So
Yeah.
yes. So where were you when you first heard about Bitcoin specifically? We'll talk about blockchain in a second, but where were you when you heard about Bitcoin specifically?
So I think I discovered Bitcoin for the first time pretty early. It was actually years before I heard about blockchain and got excited about it. The first time I heard about Bitcoin, I think I saw it, it was on Reddit. So I spent like maybe back in 2011. I've always been like kind of nerdy, like just spend time online. And was reading, forums back in the day when like Reddit was like the place to go for your like cat memes and stuff like that before everybody had like Twitter accounts and stuff like that, and before Instagram. Um, I would hang out on Reddit sometimes, and so I saw it back in the day. But the people that were writing about this new thing called Bitcoin that you could invest in, they just weren't my people. Like it was guys, it was like guys that cared about finance. It was guys that cared about software development. They were like felt super technical and almost alienating. And I remember reading about it and just feeling like, I don't understand any of this. This isn't for me. Like, I'm not a software developer. I'm not obsessed with finance. I don't understand how this touches my life. So I ignored it for a couple of years. It didn't seem interesting. It wasn't until I met like different people who like had a more similar worldview to me, and who like could talk about blockchain tech outside of just kind of the very technical minutia of like what a Bitcoin is and like Bitcoin, investing being the only use case. It wasn't until I was able to like understand that like, okay, blockchain technology is something that is as broad and all encompassing as the internet in terms of what it can touch.
Right.
That like it clicked for me and I started to get interested, and that was years later.
Okay, so that was it, because that was going to be one of my questions. Like, when did it finally click? And so it was the blockchain side of understanding the technology that actually clicked.
Yeah.
And then from there, like, how did you make the decision that you were going to get out of what you were doing and get into this space? Because this is just all so new. And so what made you, or what actually happened to make you say, hey, I need to make a switch?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd spent 3 years working in the social services field. Um, you know, uh, One of the core tenets of like of wanting to be a social worker and to like help people improve their lives, make the world a better place, right? Like all of those things I still very much cared about. But after working in the trenches in nonprofit space, I was really worn out, and I was so young, just 3 years out of college. Um, the nonprofit world had what I call a scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah, where it's just because that industry is so underfunded, it uses really like obsolete ways of like trying to help people. You're always getting stuck behind some sort of like government like nightmare or bureaucracy. People have this mindset of just like head against the wall. It's never going to get better. It's too hard to help lift people out. We're just doing the best that we can, like barely
Yeah.
getting by. And I had this hopefulness and this sense of like, no, that's not how the world works. And that's not the right mindset to actually be innovative and creative and help people. And so I knew I wanted to zoom out and focus on something that was a little bit broader. And that was the mindset I had when I basically met some people. I was in grad school in Boston for more social work stuff, a master's in social work. So I ended up like not using that at all, but I was doing that. But at the same time, I was looking for something different, looking for something that had the abundance mindset, as opposed to scarcity. So technology was something that I didn't know a ton about, but I just knew that like that's an industry where if you want to work on stuff that has infinite possibility and is totally open-ended, like that's where to go. So I was looking at a lot of different things, but basically ended up meeting some friends that were like researchers at MIT, working on smart contracts and the blockchain and legal use cases, and use cases based on identity. And because I'm more of a social scientist, like with psychology and sociology, I understood that. And like the second that I sort of saw the big picture of decentralized versions of basically an internet infrastructure, and how that people can use token economies to build all sorts of different social structures that usually are controlled by governments and corporations and centralized institutions. Just seeing the future of how we can build a decentralized world. Like so much of an idealist. It clicked for me, and I just had this gut feeling of this is going to be big. And this was back in like 2014, and it definitely was crazy of me. Like I dropped out of my grad program. I jumped in and started working with some of the founders of Ethereum, I guess, before Ethereum had even launched. I was one of the first employees at Consensus back in that was early 2015 when I started working with them. But yeah, it was definitely a leap of faith. It was maybe at least 2 years before people stopped thinking I was absolutely insane. But I guess I'm blessed that I, had a good gut instinct.
Yes, very, very glad. So I was going to ask about Consensus, and there's just so many things and I mean, look what you started, right? I think Consensus was one of the companies, of course, that was just the leader in just all the things that we're starting to see develop now, and things are just the flower is blooming. And I think that all of you that were early in that space, our hats are off to you, because you started just a whole revolution of digital stuff, digital products, just digital software. It's just awesome. So, and I actually was kind of taken up for Consensus a little earlier this week. So I have to just brush my shoulders and say it was me, because we were in a Bitcoin maxi room and people were talking about, how some people had started, not necessarily Consensus, but how anybody other than Bitcoin kind of started these companies and were doing things with Ethereum and all these other things with ill intentions, like that. It was just to rip people off from their money. And I'm like, no. Mostly all of the folks that I have met that have started these companies and have been really innovative and doing things, has been to change a current situation of a people, or better the technology, and just expand and do some other things. And so, I kind of got beat up for that. Because they were feeling like Bitcoin is perfect and there was nothing else that needed to come, no other companies, no nothing else.
Yep.
Interesting. So, but anyway, with that being said, you also have worked for a company that I am so intrigued with, and I'll tell you why. And then with your background, I think you'll understand the beauty of what my little invention is. So I went to CASA, which
Oh yeah.
I saw that you work for CASA.
Mm-hmm.
I met with the CEO of CASA. He's awesome, and he's done some things. We had a couple of conversations. I want to give Bitcoin to the homeless here in Los Angeles.
Cool.
And I want CASA to hold a key, with the multi-sig thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was sitting here one day and I was like, if we gave every person on the street, even if we just gave them $10 worth of Bitcoin, we give them their private keys, or we help them get it on the ledger, whatever we do. And the private keys is the big part. But what if the city comes along and cleans them up like they typically do around here? Like, there's homeless people everywhere. And so they just sweep them up, throw their stuff away, but then they would lose their private keys. So I was sitting here one day and I was like, who can help me come up with an answer? And it was CASA. So I talked to the CEO. He's all for it. So I'm looking forward to kind of sitting down with him to see what we can do to make sure that any homeless person that we give Bitcoin, and I'm talking 10 years from now, they got to hold it 10 years, because we We want Bitcoin to mature. We want it to do the things
Mm,
that it needs to do. But then when they're ready to come off the street and then get themselves into a house or an apartment or whatever that looks like, we need to be able to have that additional private key. And I don't want to be holding the key.
yeah,
And so I just, it's just interesting. And since you're in social, what do you think about that?
I think that's a great idea. I I especially love the effort to like decentralize, like holding. Let's see, oop, is my camera frozen? Let me see if
I
I can.
think, yeah, I think you may be, but we can hear you perfectly. So,
Cool. No, but I love the idea. It's great to introduce people to cryptocurrency. It's even better to introduce the concept of holding your own keys and actually being the um, person that's managing it, because at the end of the day, like, that's the value of Bitcoin. That's the value of holding crypto. And yeah, you got to teach that alongside the basics.
yes, yes, yes. And so I am, I'm very hopeful that we'll get that project over and underway. I put underway first because we got to get it over, but there are so many um, folks that really need the education. So working on that to get that done. And so some of the other projects that you are working on, would you like to share a couple of those with us? Did we lose you all the way on there, Carolyn? Think we might have lost you there. Ms. Carolyn, let's see, you may have to come back out and come back in. Let's see. Well, we'll take a station break while we wait on Carolyn to come back in. Hopefully, she can reconnect. I don't want to remove her because that may keep her from not coming back in. Well, we'll just take this time. I'll take this time since you all are on today to just really share about something incredible that's happening tomorrow. Tomorrow, I am launching with the fabulous staff here at Crypto Blockchain Plug. I am launching, let's see, I am launching the Digital Underground Railroad. Now, why is that special? Because we have put together an entire community. We feel it's a 360-degree holistic community around cryptocurrency, around blockchain, and around things that you deal with in life. And so, in this Digital Underground Railroad, we will have just information, videos, articles, everything that you need to help you. But we're also going to have courses available. Courses that I've never offered before will be available on this platform. We're looking forward to making sure that we give you the best bang for your dollar. And yes, this is a membership type platform, but you will have access to me, Najah Roberts, along with several other professionals that we have that we're bringing to the table that are going to talk about things from health and wellness to real estate to the metaverse to NFTs. And so we are super excited about this new platform and really looking forward to you joining us. And so individuals that get on with us first and become our founding members, we have a special for you that we're only going to offer for the first week that the platform is open. So that means from next Friday to the next Friday, we have an introductory um, founders gift that we would like to give folks. So if you're interested, please feel free to text me. You're going to text the word underground. Again, you're going to text the word underground to 424-317-7373. Again, that number is 424-317-7373 to get information about the Digital Underground Railroad. It does launch tomorrow. And again, as a founding member, you will have some very good benefits. And also, we're going to do things like a book club. We're also working to make sure that every Monday we have a Monday night live with Najah. So it's going to be kind of like an ask me anything, but I'm really going to give you all kind of the scoop as to what is going on behind the scenes. things that people are not talking to and how talking about to our community. And how am I going to know about these things? I am going to know about these things because I right now and have for the last several years subscribed to a lot of different publications and news outlets that are not made readily available to the public. And these news outlets and these articles and some of these other inside groups that I'm in, I'm going to bring that information to you. And so I know for certain that what we have, you're not going to want to miss. So again, if you're interested, please text underground to 424-317-7373. And we might have lost Carolyn for the better part of the day. And we're in this wine, women, and crypto. And as you all see, I have this glass here, this fabulous glass that the girls made. It's cute. I love it. I'm going to sip a little bit more of my pomegranate juice. I don't have any alcohol, any wine there. There she is. There.
Hello.
Hello. No
Apologies.
worries. No worries. No
Because
worries.
it up and then it gave me, restarting because of a problem. And I don't know. If Mercury is in retrograde, so I I don't
No
know.
worries
I,
at all. No worries.
yeah, these
We
things
had a
happen.
little we had a little commercial break, so that worked out perfectly. I just rambled my mouth like I usually do. So yes, so what projects are you working on now?
Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, we talked about consensus. We talked about CASA. Now I'm working with another team. It's called Thesis. And Thesis, it's a venture studio. So that's somewhat similar to Consensus in that it's like a company that builds startups. Consensus had tons of projects underneath it. Thesis is a little bit smaller. We only have 4 projects, and it's a mix of Bitcoin and also some Ethereum projects. Um, the first the first one is Fold, which I'm wondering maybe if some of your listeners are like into Bitcoin a little bit. The
Yes,
Fold card and the Fold app might be something that they're familiar with, or if they're not, I would say you
yes,
should definitely check it out because it's a super easy way to start earning small amounts of Bitcoin, Satoshis, getting sats back on like just regular debit and credit card purchases. So it's basically they've got a card, the Fold card, where the reward system is like set up in Bitcoin. So instead of getting just
yes.
credit card points, you're actually stacking sats, which is really awesome. And they've got a super fun app where you can like spin this wheel and get different rewards. So that's a consumer project that Thesis does, and then we've got 3 other projects. They're all kind of touch on DeFi and the world of decentralized applications and Web3. There's a project called Keep and TBTC, which is it's TBTC. It's a Bitcoin bridge on Ethereum, so it's a way to use Bitcoin in DeFi and decentralized finance apps, and like you can earn interest and like take out loans and a lot of like basic kind of financial services. You can do all of that totally decentralized on the blockchain with your Bitcoin. And then there's a project called Saddle, which is it's an AMM, which stands for Automated Market Maker, which is a fancy word for like a specific type of a decentralized exchange. And then lastly, we're working on a new project that's called Tally. And Tally is a wallet. It's a Web3 wallet. So if you're familiar with MetaMask, which if you've ever touched any like Ethereum applications, you've ever used you could NFTs or DeFi apps. There's a lot of things in Web3. Most of them require MetaMask, this browser extension, via Chrome or Firefox, like to access with a wallet. And we're building a version fork of it called Tally that's going to have a bunch of improvements on it, and it's also going to be user owned and managed. So it's going to have a token with it, and it's going to allow the people that use it to participate in the upside and to govern, make decisions on like the changes that the wallet has in the future, which I think is really cool. That's the direction that all this decentralized stuff needs to go in. We're the ones using the internet and making it valuable. So shouldn't we
Yes.
participate in some of the upside?
Yes, yes, yes. And for the record, I am a Fold user.
Cool.
I used to, at once upon a time, I used to spend every single day and get my sats, and I don't know why I'm not still spending every day to get those sats, because I really had accumulated a, a good amount of satoshis at one point, and I think I didn't get lazy. I just think I got like overly busy, as things started to happen, as the price of Bitcoin started to go from 4,500 to where it is right now. It's just been kind of pretty nuts. But I do have a Fold app. In fact, I mean a Fold card. I was gonna look and make sure, because I know I have it. I don't utilize it because I'm not using and spending my Bitcoin right now. I am one of those hodlers, um, and just really trying to get the community to really start, first of all, thinking about the value that it has. But I do like the fact that I hear, about the bridge program again, which was one of the little arguments this week, that there shouldn't be bridges. It should just stay there. But I think we ought to give people options, and I think companies like yours are they're so necessary, because I mean, if we just all sat and held our Bitcoin, like, it wouldn't work properly, in my opinion, because everybody has to be doing, it has to have some sort of velocity. Some things have to be happening.
Mm-hmm.
And so, ways that people can earn and stake and take loans and do some of those things, I think it is so critically important. And with people that we can trust and that already know the business and have been doing some great work. And so I'm happy to hear that about Thesis. And what what types, let me ask this about Thesis, maybe not Thesis specifically, but what types of jobs could one get in that type of industry, meaning the Thesis type
Mm-hmm.
of industry? Like, could they be a clerical person, like if they're not a developer or a coder? Like, what could they actually come to work
Mm-hmm.
on a daily basis and do there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So with a company like Thesis or any of the smaller startups, those smaller projects that I mentioned, they're basically very similar to any normal tech or normal software startup.
Mm.
So there's technical roles, right? Like software developers of all types, front end, back end, DevOps kind of stuff. But even if you're not technical, um, so many other things. So on the marketing side, that's something where like there's a big need for marketers. That means people that can write content, they can write blog posts about technology, take something that's maybe a little bit complex and make it digestible, and interesting to read about. People who work in social media, right?
Hmm.
The you
Definitely.
Yeah, crypto Twitter, right, is huge, but also I would love to see more across spaces, like with like TikTok or Instagram. Like definitely people are looking for folks that are savvy in social media and know how to get a message across that medium. Also, community management is an interesting role. That's a role that you will have sometimes in different tech startups, but outside of the tech world, that might mean something different. In crypto, the community are the people that use your product. They're the people that maybe they also hold your token. So it's can be a lot of different types of work, but basically you have to be somebody that is a user yourself,
Right.
um, and really comfortable in working with people and organizing people in online settings, like on
Yes.
Telegram groups or Discord groups. Um, yeah, there's just a lot of new stuff. And then I will say there's always need in startups for operations work. So the people who want to help throw events in person or digital events like this, people who are like even accountants and just normal folks that can help with finance and ops and in terms of running a business day to day. Like those
Yes.
people are in need always.
Yes, yes. And I would have to say to the women that are listening and the fabulous men who love us, as she talked about community, I just really think that in this space and this time that women are the best for that because we can be a little bit we can be stern and nice at the same time. And I think that our language across the computer, our language across text messaging and or these message apps, really has to be good in order to keep people coming back and like they're not feeling like those people are rude or not really attentive to their needs. And I think as women we have that within us where we want to be caring and nurturing and kind of helping people along. And I think that a lot of these tech companies are going to need a lot more women in their fold to make sure that their clients and those individuals that are in the community are taken care of well. And so I think
Mm-hmm.
you're starting to notice that. I've seen a little bit more of that, um,
Yeah.
especially in the diversity and inclusion space. Starting to see a lot more women going to these tech companies and stuff. And I was just trying to figure out why that is. But yeah, we're awesome anyway. But we do have a little bit more patience, and we do offer a little bit more help than men typically would. So yeah, so that's it. So what would you say? And I'm not going to hold you much longer because I know we're already at the bottom of the hour. But what would you say to a woman that may be listening today that is saying, I am at this dead end job, but I make a lot of money, and I'm really scared about if this crypto, metaverse, Web3, if this stuff may just go away. And after I quit my job, I'll just be left out in the cold. What would you say to one of those women about this industry we're in?
Yeah. Um, I mean, that's another thing about women. I agree. Women are really great at building community and building networks, and that's something that crypto is all about. So we need more women. But I think women are also a little bit more risk averse than men, right? They think a little bit more about like, ooh, what could go wrong, and want to protect against that, which is not a bad thing. And it is true that if you're new to the space, there's a lot going on and it can be a little bit intimidating trying to understand like what's legit, all of these different types of coins, could they fall apart, um, and what I'd say is like follow that instinct, right? Like that's another thing that women have is that like killer instinct, stuff that flies in and out, and somebody lets you in on and says like, hey, this is the new hot thing, it didn't exist last week but here it is, like this is what you want to do. Be wary of that. Do your research. Um, I always say if you're looking to get in and understand more, start with Bitcoin. That's number one. Bitcoin's never going away. Like it's always a good place to start. And Ethereum. That Ethereum's the number two. It's been around the longest. It's grown the most. It's not going away either. And there are a few other projects, whether they're projects on top of Ethereum or new chains that you could put, in that bucket. So things like, Solana that's newer, but is showing a lot of promise. There are a few things like that where if you're putting in the time and you're surrounding yourself with a community of people that you trust, that are there for the right reasons, then like you're going to be around the right information. And when it comes to the big picture in crypto, sure, some of these smaller, newer things may come and go, but crypto as an industry, Bitcoin, Ethereum, that's not going anywhere.
Well, thank you for that, and thank you for reiterating that it's not going anywhere because we're saying it and we're saying it, and we want people to understand that and know that. And so, if people are searching, where would they find you? How can they get in contact with you to just chat a little bit more? Maybe they're a social worker right now and they're seeing what we see, right? Because I went to school for criminal justice administration. Go figure.
So cool.
So, where can they find you on social media?
Yeah, I would say Twitter is the best place to reach out. Yeah, my handle is at C Reckhow. Yeah, so just first initial and then my last name. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Telegram, but yeah, I'd say Twitter. I'm there most often, probably most responsive.
Okay,
My DMs
okay,
are open.
okay. Are you a part of any girl groups that you think someone should join or take a look at as far in the space? Are you a member of any of the
Hmm.
new groups or any of those?
Yeah, I know of a couple of groups I'd recommend. So if you're interested in the Ethereum ecosystem and learning more about DeFi, I have a friend, Maggie Love, who runs a program called SheFi.
Mm,
And you can follow her, and she'll do like meetups and streams where she'll dive a little bit more in depth into like, okay, what are these decentralized applications? How can you
mhm.
earn some yield on the crypto that you already own? And she'll do it in a way that like is judgment free, filled with women. You can ask the questions that you were maybe too nervous to ask, like on Twitter or some other type of event. So I really like what she's doing. Um, and then I'd also say check out. There's a group called She 256,
She
which is
too.
a yeah, She 256. It's a play on Shaw
Yeah,
256,
yeah,
which is yeah, it's a hashing algorithm. It's a
yes.
Bitcoin nerd joke. Um, but they also they're great if you're somebody that is looking to break into the industry. Um, they basically help women connect with employers. So they're good at trying to get people into the space as well.
Cool, cool. Well, I sure appreciate you being here today. And we want to just again say to each and every one of you, thank you so very much. And we want to thank Miss Carolyn for coming today. And I know uh, we are going to follow up with you. I'm not quite sure. I believe we've already posted your highlight. Have you seen your highlight for Women That Crypto yet?
Oh, I'm not sure. Is that a
We
tweet
put out one
maybe?
every Tuesday and Thursday, and
Oh,
you're one of our features. So
very cool.
we're looking forward to showcasing you as well. If you haven't already done it, it'll be probably in the next couple of weeks that we'll do your showcase. But we want to tell you on behalf of Wine Women in Crypto and the men that the brave men that love us that we appreciate you and all that you bring. Keep up the good work, and we really love to talk to you and see you in 2022. Just because the space changes so very, very quickly. And I know I'm looking to get with some other women that we want to try to really do a big event for women, just like they have a Bitcoin 2020. We want to do a some sort of event for us women because they only let like 3 or 4 of us on the stage the whole weekend. So we want to we want to come and make a splash or do something different. So we'll definitely be in touch. Again, thank you for your time. Thank you for
Thank
all that
you.
you bring to the industry, and we appreciate you. And to those of you, again, you can find her at on Twitter at C Raquel, and that's her first initial last name. And oh, they're telling me questions. Let's see. Do we have any questions really quickly? Because we're gonna let her go, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Somebody said, "How can I convince my family and friends?" Ooh, to get how to get into the space who are doubting the space and saying it's just a gambling system.
Hmm. It's a good question. I would say start by um, not denying the fact that there are some people who are in the space because they're treating it like gambling. The same way there are some people who use the stock market because they're treating it like gambling. Some people just have that approach to types of tools that allow for big risk taking, and yeah, you could call that gambling, but that by no means is all it does. I think what I like to emphasize with folks who are new to the space and maybe only see this like one very biased portion in the media that's sensationalist and tries to make things seem dangerous and scammy, is talk about the core technology of Bitcoin and blockchain and some of its, the qualities of decentralization, of censorship resistance, the fact that Bitcoin is a technology that is something that fundamentally can't be stopped by a government or any sort of central authority. It's something that gives power back in the hands of individuals, and it's a tool that allows for coordination across the internet, across networks, without any sort of interference from like the state or from any kind of, I don't know, corporation that might want to like make a buck off of you. It's at its core like a freedom like designed technology, and when you have something that's so open and like has so many multi-ended use cases, of course you're gonna have people that jump in and try to like make a buck off of it and kind of gamble and stuff like that. But that's really only like one side that you're seeing, tip of the iceberg.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that. And did we have any other questions from the floor? Ooh, so somebody that calls themselves We All Count, which is awesome. How do you attract young women to the platform, Najah and Carolyn, who's not familiar with crypto? So I'll let her go first, and then, or I'll go first since you did the last one. Um, I typically feel like we really need to attract young women and people in general. We have to meet them where they are. Just point blank period. We can't go in talking about you just can't go in with all these big words and a lot of terminology. Got to really break it down so that people understand it. And again, like I do all sorts of events just to really introduce people to cryptocurrency. So I've done in the past beauty shops in Bitcoin. I have a little idea that I'm planning on doing now that, well, not now that COVID has gone, but once we really, really open up, we want to have, just some educational places that people can go, that women specifically, young women can go, new millennials. Millennials are millennials, Gen Zs, they're special women. And so they're always looking for something different. And I think job wise too, they're always in search. Just a big difference in mindset from, my mother and even adults my age, which are in, right up just entering the 50-ish stage. We thought about getting on these jobs and staying for 40 years because that's all we knew. And I think now the younger generation is really looking for something different. They don't even go into a job thinking, I'm going to be here for the rest of my life. Hence, what Carolyn was just speaking about. She has tried her hand at several different companies and is not tethered to any one company for whatever reason. We have the freedom, and we need to feel like we have the freedom to use whatever we want for money, to work wherever we want, however many years we want to work it. And if we want to just pick up and move to Costa Rica, we do it like my daughter did a couple of months ago. I was like, what? Like I never even thought of that in college or anything. So it's just a different time. So again, we got to meet people where they are and not really expect them right away to get into it. And what I'm seeing right now is people are gonna maybe come into cryptocurrency backwards. And I don't mean backwards because it's not a bad thing, but I think most people are gonna either find the augmented reality space or the NFT space, or they're gonna find something first, and then they're gonna say, oh, well, wait a minute. Well, what is this thing I have to buy in order to get this thing? And so I think we're gonna have to reverse engineer some of our thoughts, because a lot of us are like, you just need Bitcoin first and you got to understand it. And yes, if we introduce them that way, but if they come the other way, we've got to be patient enough to understand, where they are, what their needs are, and then try to educate from there. So I hope that helped, and I'll let Carolyn go, and then we'll go.
I think you're 100% right. I don't know if I have too much to add. Like it's all about meeting young people where they're at, and where they're at is these brand new like social media chat platforms, like games, like young people are all like deep in the digital world. They're so digitally native. And yeah, I think you made a really great point that we're going to see a lot of young people coming into this backwards, coming into this from places you wouldn't think. And I think in a year or two, there's going to be applications and connections like even more creative and out there than NFTs and AR that we can't even imagine right now. And yeah, we just have to be open-minded and I don't know, creative and keep kind of building bridges when these things pop up.
Yes, yes. Thank you for that. Thank you. And ladies, I am up. We have question for Najah. Wonder how I can participate in the program that you're launching tomorrow. I live in the UK. So I'm not quite sure that you can send me a text message. So what I'm going to say, if you live in the UK, and also I'm doing an event in the UK for the UK in a couple of weeks. So I'm excited about that too. Let me see. If you can send me an email at Najah at najahroberts.com. So Najah at najahroberts.com. I can send you the link for the Digital Underground Railroad. In fact, I believe because we're launching it tomorrow at about 1 o'clock, you should be able to go to the digitalundergroundrailroad.com. It should take you right into our site. And I'm really excited about it. And again, Najah at najahroberts.com. I'll send you a link. But if you happen to miss that, go to my social media because we're going to be plastering my social media. We're so excited about just having a community that we can really educate and give the goods, because we get censored on Instagram and Facebook, and we're paying for ads that people never ever see. Our team is putting out phenomenal content that nobody ever gets to take a look at. And so we're just kind of sick and tired of being sick and tired. So it's our time and we're ready. So Miss Carolyn, again, I want to say thank you for your patience with me. I know we are embarking on some exciting times. It's an exciting time to be alive. And I am so grateful that you've taken some time to meet with me tonight and share who you are and what you've done and what you're working on. And we appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Najah. It's great to have, yeah, to be on. And yeah, this was great. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, you all have an incredible night along with Miss Carolyn, and thank you for joining the Wine, Women, and Crypto series. Have an incredible rest of your evening. Thank you. Peace and blessings, everybody.